Hey guys, it's Ci'Nya here, aka Nizzy.
That makes me look at you too often. Oh, baby, you can give it something. Baby, I can run all the time. Baby, I'm talking crazy.
If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. You're lit, and that's Ci'Nya. As you can tell by the title, today's video is going to be a story time about how I was stuck on an island for 102 days. Yeah, I got my tissues because I start crying. Got my water. Make sure y'all get y'all tea, y'all beverage, and y'all popcorn. I don't want to do too much talking. I just want to get into the video. Before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that post notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and follow my socials. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we start, y'all, let me pull my notes up because a lot happened and I want to make sure I cover almost everything. I already planned to do a part 2 to this video, so whatever comments, questions, concerns y'all have. Okay, y'all, I'm really nervous to record this, not gonna lie, because this is like me being vulnerable about like a traumatic event that happened in my life, like a real traumatic event that happened in my life. But yes, I was stuck on an island for 102 days, to be exact. I'm fidgeting because I'm anxious. I'm sorry, but let me find something to play with. All right, we're going to play with Flash while we talking. My dad, we were stuck in Bermuda. I wasn't going to say the country, but I might as well tell y'all the country. So we were stuck in Bermuda. We went to Bermuda January 9th. It was supposed to be a small vacation with just me and him because, you know, I have siblings and I don't get a lot of quality time with just me and my dad. So we just were going to go do that. We went there and it was raining. It was January, so the weather was bad, but it was both our first time near in the winter time. We usually go in the summer because we have family down there, so we do go down there frequently. I haven't been down there since I was like 14 or 15 though, but so we were expecting to be able to do like jet skis and stuff. You know, when you go to other islands it's warmer, so you can still do the stuff in the winter time. But so we didn't do anything like that. We went down there to watch soccer practices because one of the soccer coaches that's down there, my dad wanted to bring up here to LA to do a soccer camp. My little brother does play soccer, so that's one of the reasons why we went down there. And that's literally, we spent most of our time at the soccer field. I didn't even get out of the car at the soccer field because it was so cold, but we spent majority of our time at the soccer field. So we were supposed to be there from January 9th to January 11th, but that was only 2 days, so we ended up extending our stay to the 12th. So the plan was to leave January 12th. My dad's connecting flight got delayed. I believe he was flying into Chicago from Bermuda. No, Bermuda to North Carolina to Chicago and then to LA. But the flight from Chicago to LA got delayed, so he had to rebook his whole trip in order to make it to LA in time for my brother's soccer game. So when he rebooked it, it gave him like a whole new confirmation. Mind you, we fly non-ref. If you don't know what that is, basically we're under somebody that works for the airport tickets, so we book our tickets last minute anyway, just to like depending on the availability on that flight. So it gave him a whole new confirmation. We got to the airport. I didn't know that he had booked his flight on the way to the airport. Like I had no idea. I thought that he had been booked his flight the morning, like he booked mine that morning. That wasn't the case. So yeah, he booked his flight then for the next flight, the flight that was going to get him there on time. And when we got to the airport, I'm sorry y'all, I need to take a deep breath. I really need to take a deep breath before I start crying. We got to the airport and first we thought that we was rushing. Like we really didn't know like the time. Like we wasn't looking at our phones. We just felt like we was rushing. Normally when we go to the airport we are rushing. I don't think we was rushing this time though. And I had 2 bags because I was going from Bermuda. I was going from Bermuda straight to school. I wasn't going back to Philly. So, oh yeah, mind y'all, me and my dad didn't fly out to Bermuda together. Like, he flew from LA, I flew from Philly, we met out there. Okay, sorry. Didn't throw that in there. Should have threw that in there. Yeah, so I had 2 bags. One bag had like a bunch of clothes in it for me to take back to school. It was a bigger check bag. Then my other bag was a check bag, but it was like a medium-sized check bag, and it just had like little like stuff that I needed, like random stuff to take back to school. That I was taking back, like lash supplies, some shoes was in there, some sneakers, some stuff I got for Christmas, some jewelry, like just random stuff was in that bag. And then I had a bag full of clothes. So the bag full of clothes was overweight, so I had to take some of the clothes out of that bag because that bag was full and move it into the other check bag, which didn't have a lot of stuff in it, had room in it. Yeah, y'all get it. So check the bag. Then we go to TSA to try to go through security. My dad has a cricket bag. Before you ask, my dad has a cricket bag because cricket is a big thing in Bermuda. One of my uncles, remember, keep this in mind, my uncle. One of my uncles is a cricket coach. And he gave my dad the cricket bat to give it to my little brother. That's the only reason why my dad has a cricket bat. He couldn't take the cricket bat through TSA. We had to go back to the front desk. He had to check the cricket bat. It took him a long time to check the cricket bat because it wasn't a normal size luggage. It wasn't considered normal size luggage. So he had to find a bag to wrap it up. Then he had to tape the bag up. Then he had to print out the check ticket to put on the bag that the cricket bag was in. Then my dad had to take the cricket bag and take it to the other side, like down, further down in the airport to check it because it was considered an oversized luggage. Okay. At this point, we still don't know if we're supposed to be rushing, but we're still rushing. Then we get to customs. This is where everything goes wrong. See, I picked him up because I'm about to start fidgeting because this is where everything went wrong. So we get to customs and the girl is like, mind you, they do customs. Usually you don't go through customs until you get back on US soil. In Bermuda, they do US customs in Bermuda. So we go to customs and the girl, my dad goes up first and I like pause because I'm like, we together but we're not flying back on the same flight. Like we're not flying together but we together but we're not flying together. Right. So the girl, like, my dad like goes up first. Mind you, my dad has one of my luggage tickets and then he has the luggage ticket for the cricket bag. And then I have my third luggage ticket. So my dad was asking the guard, like, do we go up together? And the girl was like, are y'all together? And my dad was like, that's my daughter, but we're not flying together. So the guard was like, she could just come up too. So boom, I go up. She starts scanning. She scans my dad's ticket. Then she starts scanning the luggage. She scans my dad's ticket and she's like, why'd you book your ticket so late in advance? And me and my dad looked at each other. Like I said, we fly 9 Rev. It's times we book our tickets in the airport. Like literally, it's just a hit or miss. So we both confused. He like, I fly 9 Rev. What do you mean? Like I booked my ticket too late in advance. Like what does that mean? I'm looking like, huh? But this whole day, like the whole time, I felt like I was rushing. I had this bad feeling in my body. Like I just felt uneasy the whole process. Like I just wanted to be on the plane at that point because I felt like something was going to go wrong at any second. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is about to go left. Like it's just in my head like this is about to go left. Not knowing what's about to happen, but I'm like, something's about to happen. So she like, okay, well y'all gotta go back to secondary screening. We go back to secondary screening. The tension in the secondary screening was strong. Like you could tell the tension was there. I don't know why the tension was there. I don't know what was going on, but you could tell it was tension in that secondary screening room. It was like a bunch of Bermuda police there. It was the people who run customs was there. It was just a lot. People in there, the people in there looked uneasy. Like it was just like bad vibes all the way around. So we sat down. It's a little wait. Now I'm starting to get anxious more because I'm like, okay, now we're about to miss our flight. Like we're about to miss our flight. I'm looking at the time like we're about to miss our flight. So my dad like, I'm like, Dad, you been through this before? And he like, yeah, we like it's gonna be fine. Like they just gonna check our bags and then we be on our way. So I'm like, cool, we're gonna be on our way. They're gonna check our bags. Well, that's not what happened at all. Then an officer comes over and starts talking to us because I had on like the furry boots that was trending on TikTok over the winter, like the fur ones. I had them on and he was talking about how he killed some animal and made his own boots, and we was conversing over that. He was an older white guy. Real cool. Then they call us up to get our bags to check in or whatever. We go. My dad had to fill out this paper, but I didn't have to fill out the paper, but my dad had to fill out this paper, and it was basically like a custom slip, like asking how much money he brought in, how long he was here, where he stayed, who he was with, da. We go to the one customs officer. Like I said, the tension was there. Like you could tell everybody was uneasy. So the officer grabs both of our backpacks and he goes to my dad's bag first. As he's going through my dad's bag, I realized them bringing our checked luggage into the room, and I'm like, this is weird. Like I've never seen this before. Like what's going on? So yeah, Yeah, he's going through my dad's bag, and there's 4 other officers there besides him. There's the white guy, there's officer 1, which is the one that's checking our bags, and then 2, 3, and 4 will come into play. Yeah, he's checking my dad's bag. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm getting real anxious because this is where everything goes downhill. He's checking my dad's bag, and he's like, immediately, like, where do you keep your cash? My dad had a Nike bag. You know, some Nike bags got a lot of compartments, so he showed the compartment that my dad's cash was in. Mind you, my dad had the limit that you're supposed to carry is $10,000. Once you're at $10,000, you have to declare that money, which means you have to tell them that you came in with that money. My dad didn't have 10. He had like 9. And he had 9 because we didn't do anything while we were down there. So he didn't spend any of our vacation money on a vacation because we didn't do anything. So he had 9. He shows the dude where the cash is at. The dude pulls the cash out. He starts counting cash. He's like, the officer's like, did you spend any money down here? My dad's like, no, not really. Like, it wasn't nothing to do down here. Then he's like, you came down here with all this money? My dad's like, yeah, we was coming on vacation. And then he's like, what's your occupation? My dad tells him all his businesses, all he does. Right. Counting money. He finally finishes counting the money. As he's counting my dad's money, another officer is coming over to like check on what's going on. Like, I guess he was like the supervisor there, I don't know. Check what's going on. Then as they're counting the money, I see like them putting my luggage through another screening, and I'm just like, okay, like, why are you screening my luggage again? Like, there's nothing in there. Like, what's going on here? And I'm like overthinking in my head, like looking at the time, overthinking in my head. I was like, when we were walking into secondary screening, it was in the middle of texting my best friend and then texting one of my friends from school. So I like stopped texting them. Like, I was like trying to respond to them. You're not supposed to be on your phone when you're in secondary screening. Wasn't supposed to be on my phone. Still looking at the time, check the time, make sure we're gonna make this flight. Getting real anxious, like real anxious. So then they finish checking his bag. They get all his cash, and when I say all his cash, I mean all his cash. Like, whatever he had in his pockets, they was taken. Wherever he had money hidden, because you know how, like, I will have money in multiple places. Like, I don't keep my money in one spot. So they was checking every spot, finding money, and putting it all together. Once they finally got his total amount, it was like 8 something, close to 9. Then they checked my bag. I'm getting nervous. Why? Because I have tuition cash in my bag that I was supposed to be taking to school, and I have my money I made from lashes that I was supposed to be taking back to school. He asked me where my money is at. My money's right in the backpack. As soon as you open the backpack, boom, a lot of cash is in there. I think I ended up having like 7, 8 or something, like towards 8,000 in my bag. Again, under the limit. We're not traveling together. It doesn't matter. I have tuition money and money from lashes. A portion of my tuition money and money from lashes, and it was that. So he counted the money, and he's looking at me because, like, I'm a little girl. He knows I'm 19. He looked at my passport. He knows when I was born. He's like, why do you have so much money? I'm like, what do you mean, why do I have so much money? I'm scared. I'm like, am I not supposed to have this much money? Like, what's going on right now? Like, I thought I was cool. I was under the limit. And I do this thing where if I'm like nervous or scared or anxious or my anxiety is up or anything, I just go mute. I just go quiet. And that's exactly what I did. Or I'll start stuttering. And I started stuttering before I went quiet. So he asked me, he was like, why do you have all this cash? I was like, that's literally what I said. I was like, and he was like, then, like, you know how they try to get in your head? He tried to get in my head. He was like, what's your occupation? I was like, well, I help my dad with his businesses. I do this, and this, and I'm in college. Then the white officer heard me say I was in college, so he's trying to make conversation. I feel like he was trying to calm me down. He's trying to make conversation with me about college. He's like, what college did you go to? I'm like, Arizona State. He like, oh, I went there. What's your major? He's trying to make conversation. Officer number 2, not number 1, because officer number 1 is still checking the bag. Officer number 2 is like telling this white officer to like shut up, basically, like chill out, like go do something. So then he walked away. That was all I seen. That was the last time I seen the white officer. Like, I didn't see him since after that. So then officer number 1 is still questioning me, and he's looking at the money, and he was like, so this money never touched Bermuda soil? And I'm looking like, what do you mean this money never, like, why are you looking at the money asking me if it touched Bermuda soil? How does that correlate? Like, what are you looking at on the money? And then he's like asking me questions, and I'm like tripping up, like, not gonna lie, I start tripping up because I was nervous. And like, as a black girl, as a black person, growing up in Philadelphia, you're told don't trust the cops, don't trust the police, don't tell them nothing. So I'm sitting there like, what do I answer and what do I not answer? Like, is me not answering going to make this worse? Is me answering going to make this worse? Then my dad tries to answer for me. He's like, we came here with the money, like this is her tuition money, like we came here with the money. And the guy's like, you can't talk for her because she's over 18. So he's trying to ask me questions, and I'm like, bro, like I'm physically, mentally not okay right now, and you're just asking me, hounding me questions and messing my head up because I don't even know what you're talking about. So then they took my dad into this room, and this is where it kind of got bad because the room that my dad was in, he couldn't see me, but I can see him. And just imagine you being in a situation not being able to see your kid. So my dad's going through it, his anxiety's going up, he's sweating, he's stuttering, they're asking him questions, he's not trying to answer the questions because he's trying to figure out where his child is at. They're looking at him having these symptoms as him being suspicious or being guilty and getting anxious because he's guilty of something, which wasn't the case at all. Yo, I'm sorry, I keep looking up here and I'm supposed to be looking here. If my eyes start crossing, just ignore it. Yeah, so I later found out that they was asking my dad like where the money came from, what was the money for. My dad told them that we came here with the money, we was going to 2 separate places, the money I had was for my tuition, and the officers, I guess they just wasn't trying to hear it, like at all. Before we switched places, I text my best friend. I don't know what possessed me to text my best friend. Mind you, I told you we wasn't even supposed to be on our phones when we were in customs. I text my best friend, I said, we're getting locked up, I love you. I don't know what possessed me to text him, but I sent it to him. As soon as I sent it to him, the customs officer, the first customs officer was like, you can't be on your phone. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see if we're gonna make that flight. He said, y'all not making that flight. My head is spinning. What do you mean I'm not making that flight? Like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here no more. So then, after they're done questioning my dad, Officer 2 and Officer 3 is in there questioning my dad. Officer 3 is a female, and I think she was like the head officer there. They're questioning my dad. Then we switch. They take me into questioning. Officer 2 is in there, and then somebody from the financial department or whatever is in there. I'm like, okay. Start asking questions. How many times I came down to Bermuda? How often do I come down here? How long was I there for? What did I do? What was I there for? Stuff like that. Then they asked me if the money was mine. I'm like, I'm scared, so I'm like, no, my dad gave it to me. They like, when your dad gave it to you? I'm like, the day before we left. And that's when everything went left. And to be fair, the money wasn't my money, it was for tuition. Like, the big chunk of it was for tuition. So it was like, what was I supposed to say? Like, I really didn't know what to say. There was no, like, we wasn't expecting it to happen. We didn't know. Like, I was scared. My dad wasn't there. I didn't know what to say, what not to say. Like I said, I didn't want to say something and it ended up going left, which I said something and ended up going left anyway. But, so yeah, once I said my dad gave me the money, it was wraps. They asked me if I knew anybody there. I said my uncle, the uncle that plays, that's the cricket coach. Apparently, when I went down there a couple years ago, he was a celebrity on the island. Apparently, everybody hates him on the island now, and he's just not who he was before. So me saying his name was like a flip, and like the whole mood changed in the room. The officer started looking at me crazy. The officer looking like, yeah, we got him, like they doing something, like this money is illegal, like da, da, da. So then as I'm speaking, the lady is writing it down. The lady, he asks for my phone, tells me to unlock my phone. Then he goes to officer number 4, and he tells officer number 4 to get my dad's phone. Officer number 1 is still counting the money. So officer number 4 goes to get my dad's phone. My dad unlocks the phone, give it to him. He finds the messages with my dad and my uncle on WhatsApp and starts copying them. But there's nothing in there. But he just starts copying them. Then he gives me my phone back, and he's like, we're not going to need your phone. Gives me my phone back. Goes in the room, comes back out. He's like, we're turning you over to the Bermuda Police Department. You're being arrested. I looked at him. I said, arrested for what? He said, for the suspicion of money laundering. I'm looking like, you think I do drugs? Like, you think I sell drugs? Like, because money laundering, like, when I hear money laundering, I think of illegal activity. Illegal activity is selling drugs. I'm thinking like that's what I'm being arrested for. I'm like, I'm not selling drugs. Like, if you know me, you know I'm scared to freaking turn on red. Like, I would never sell drugs. Like, let's be for real. I just said I was in college, gave you my whole rundown, and you think I sell drugs. That was the last thing I was expecting to hear. So yeah, they said you're being arrested for the suspicion of money laundering. So then I'm breaking down crying. Me and my dad are still separated. I'm like shut down, don't want to talk to nobody. He's like trying to check on me, like, because I'm in my head like I'm not a criminal, like what did I do wrong, like what's about to happen, like my parent. Then I'm like, my family don't know that we stuck here because we couldn't text them, like nobody knows where we at, like it's just thoughts run into my head. Then I just start crying, and then it's the lady from financial is there, and then another lady from financial comes in there, and she like, it's okay, it's just stuff like this don't last long. Mind you, it's Friday. She like, you gonna be out, you gonna be back home on the next flight by Monday. It's gonna pass, like it don't last long, we just gotta check, you're gonna be okay. She lied to me. So I ended up falling asleep because I was tired from crying. When I wake up, Bermuda police is there. They're like putting our money in plastic bags. They took my dad to the bag. I'm like, where are they taking my dad? I start crying again, like where are y'all taking my dad? Then they take me to the back room too after a while. They take me to the back room. They read me like my Miranda rights, but like my Miranda rights for there, because obviously they're not called Miranda rights. I start crying again. Then I start having an asthma attack, because I'm just like, this is not happening. Like, how did this just happen? Like, why is this going left like this? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm just like, I want to go home, I want my mom, like what's going on? So then they have to go get my inhaler because I'm having an asthma attack. My dad's in the next room. I don't even know if he knew that I was having an asthma attack, but he told them before, like, she got asthma, so be cautious. It was two officers, it was 3 Bermuda officers, but 2 that was in the room with me when they read me my Miranda rights. One was the superintendent, I think that's what it's called, and then one was another regular officer. The superintendent went to go get my inhaler, and the regular officer was like, your dad asked for her not to cuff you, so as long as you agree to cooperate, she's not going to put you in cuffs. I started going crazy. What do you mean cuffs? Handcuffs? Why am I being put in hand? Like, it's just, my head is spinning. Like, imagine you think you about to go home, go back to school, and all of this happens to you. Like, I was really going through it. Like, never in a million years that I thought that something like this would happen to me. End up calming down. She takes my phone. I give her my password to my phone. My dad didn't give his password. She had my password for my phone. Eventually, you know, they take us out or whatever, get in a police car. On the way to the police station, they pull somebody over, give them a ticket. I'm like, yo, what is going on here? Like, you gave somebody a ticket and you have a criminal in the car with you? What? Then me and my dad had to ride in separate cars because they separated by gender, I think. Then we got to the police. The police officer was like, you know how they trying to be nice to you? She was trying to be nice to me. She was like, what do you think about? I'm like, my mom's not gonna know where her kid is at. That's what's on my mom right now, lady. That's what's on my mom right now. Then she like, well, if they don't let you call your mom after the interview, then I'll call her for you. I'm like, I don't know my mom's number. Oh, that's what happened. Before they took my phone at the customs, I was like, I don't know my mom's number. Like, I need to write down her phone number because I don't know her number by heart. And I only don't know her number by heart because she just got a new number, so not too much on me. But I'm like, yeah, I don't know her number. It's crazy because a couple months before it happened, I was like, if I ever get locked up, I only know my dad's phone number. I don't know anybody else's number because my grandma has a California number that I just never learned when she switched her number. My mom's got a new phone number. My dad's the only number who had the same number since they taught you how to learn phone numbers back in elementary school. So he's the only number I knew. And it was just crazy because it was like, I'm locked up with the only person whose number I know. Like, what am I supposed to do? So, we go to the police station, and you know how in the movies they got the big holding cells? We was put in one of them until they did our processing. And I'm like thinking like, we're just gonna stay in a holding cell. Like, we only gonna, in my head I'm like, okay, we only gonna be here for like a day, and then it's all gonna be figured out and they're gonna let us go home. No, we ended up getting filed, getting processed, put in individual cells. We was next to each other, but we were still in individual cells. I was on a skinny mat. They let me keep my blanket. They gave me a blanket. It was bad. I had to take out all my jewelry. It was bad. Like, it was really bad. I had on Lulu tights and an Essentials hoodie and a t-shirt, so I was cold. I really wasn't eating, like, because they had like the prepackaged meals, and it was like sweet and sour chicken and rice, curry chicken and rice, then it was like a vegetable option and rice. Mind y'all, my dad is pescatarian, so he doesn't eat chicken at all, which means he, like, I wasn't eating, but he really wasn't eating because he's not going to eat the chicken. Like, he doesn't eat chicken. So first night in there, all I could do was cry. Like, literally all I was doing was crying when I was in there the first night. I'm thinking, like, my family doesn't know where I'm at. Like, I'm supposed to be in Arizona. Mind you, my best friend was in Arizona that weekend because he had a conference and he was going to stay longer so that me and him could chill. That never happened. I'm supposed to be with my best friend right now. Like, what's going on? Like, why am I here? I'm going crazy. My dad's trying to talk to me. I'm like, I don't know how to talk. Like, I'm shutting down. Like, he was trying to talk to me. I couldn't really hear him talking because of how the cells, but it wasn't like the bars. It was like the big doors, and you gotta open it to give you the food. That's literally what I was in. Yeah. Hold on. So yeah, that's literally what I was in. My dad, I know that he was in a, like, I can't speak from his point of view because obviously I don't know all of his point of view, but I know that he was going through it because it's like, dang, not only is he in a situation, but his daughter is in a situation too. Like, and then he would try to talk to me, but I'm like, I can't really hear what you're saying. Then I don't really know what to say. Like, I don't want to talk. I'm just like trying to process everything that's happening. I'm crying. My essential sleeves, I had on a gray hoodie. You could see all the tears all over me. Like, cry myself to sleep. Was praying. Woke up the next day. Officers checking in. You know, I didn't even really sleep that first night. Then I'm trying to remember everything that happened, like, in the jail. Next day, my dad's trying to talk to me. At this point, I'm feeling yucky because I didn't shower, didn't wash my face, none of that, you know. So I'm getting a little upset because I don't feel good. Not only am I in this situation, but I don't feel clean. We just sitting. Like, we really just sitting there. I finally got a phone call. I remember they called me out and was like, you got somebody, like, somebody called you. I'm like trying to figure out, like, who called me, like, who's on the phone. And as soon as I heard their voice, like, I just started crying. Like, I was like, I want to come home. Like, it just broke me. And then every time after that, when they called me, it just broke me. Like, I was confused because it was like, okay, I can see if I did something and I'm here, but it's like, I really don't know what's going on. I'm in a different country. The rules is different. The laws is different. I just didn't know, like, what to do. Like every time I was on the phone with them, I started crying. Like, it was, I just didn't know. It was like, everybody's so used to me being like the strong little girl. Like, I grew up, I was the strong little girl. And it's like, at that point, I had like just broke down. And I would just, like, I just kept crying. Like, I was literally crying the whole time I was in there. And it's like, growing up in Philly, and you know, like, people who were wrongly incarcerated and like served so much time in jail for stuff that they didn't do, was like, that could be me. Like, I really didn't know, like, what was going on, what was going to come from it, what was going to happen after. Yeah, so when I got on the phone with my mom, I just like started crying. I was just like, I want to come home. Like, I want my mom. I just was like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to go home. Like, and it was nothing. Like, usually growing up, I got in trouble. If I couldn't get through it, I was calling my family to help me get through it. And this was the first time where, like, my family couldn't even help me. And I feel like that broke me more because it was like, I'm really in something that I don't know how I'm gonna get out, how I'm gonna be able to get out, if my life's ever going to be the same after, like, how long it's going to last. Like, all of this was going through my head. So after that, like, my best friend was calling me like as often as he could with my mom. He told me to like let whoever I talk to on a daily basis know what happened. So that being my friend from school, one of my other brothers. That second day in there, I was just crying. I was losing my mind. The officers that was in jail, they were a little bit more lenient on me because I'm a girl and I'm young. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, the one officer gave me an apple because he realized I wasn't eating. And I ate half that apple and gave the other half to my dad because I knew that he wasn't eating either, because he don't eat chicken, so there was no way he was eating at all. Like, we literally shared an apple, like a freaking apple. Like, I split an apple with my dad in jail at 19 in another country. Like, what? I think this is why I've been prolonging the video so long, because I knew I was gonna start crying. Officer like brought me out, asked me if I wanted a book to read. He gave me a book to read, and of course I picked up the book, and it was, the title of the book was like, it was about money, and it was like why nice girls don't get rich, or why nice girls stay broke, or something like that. Like, I literally, like, out of all books, I'm still in there like trying to figure out a hustle, trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it. Like, it's so crazy to me. So later the second day, I'm like in and out of sleep because obviously I'm crying, so my body's being drained. I am not eating, so I don't have no energy, so I'm in and out of sleep. Then the detectives who arrested us come in and take me for questioning. I didn't know that when they took me for questioning, my dad wasn't in his cell. Like, I had no idea my dad wasn't in his cell. He had went out for fresh air because he started having an anxiety attack, so they took him out for fresh air. I had no idea that he wasn't in the cell. So they took me into the interview, and I had already talked to like a public defender that they give you. She was just like, don't answer any questions, like say no comment to everything, like don't answer nothing. So I'm going to interview, and I'm like, okay, I know like not to answer no questions. I know they're gonna try to run game on me because I'm younger, like I'm not letting it happen, like don't answer anything. So that's exactly what I did. We went in the interview. The detective was like, it's the same one who told me that she was gonna call my mom. She's asking me questions. She's like, how are you? Like, are you okay? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I would rather be home. Like, I want to go home. So then they start asking me questions. They ask me questions like what school I go to, what's my major, how many times I come down here, who I knew down here. And then they're taking, like, they took the story that the customs gave them from that question and put it at the top. Asked me if I wanted to change anything. I said no comment. Go through the list of questions. I'm saying no comment to every question. It's at the point where it's like I'm not realizing what questions they ask me because no comment is rolling off the tongue. Like, I'm not even trying to answer any questions. So then they did that, finish. After they finished, she's like, what's your major? Mind you, I had just said no comment. So I was like, sports business. And she was like, oh, that makes sense. So I'm looking like, what do you mean that makes sense? Like, what are you trying to imply? Whatever. Go back. I didn't know my dad wasn't in his cell. So he's like, are you okay? Like, what happened? Where did they take you? Where did you go? What did they do to you? Like, and I'm just like, they just asked me questions, and I said no comment to all the questions. He was like, okay. He's still trying to talk to me. I'm just like confused, like just in there crying, don't want to be bothered. In my head a lot, as an overthinker, that was probably one of the worst situations I've ever been in, because all I had was me in a room overthinking. Like, my head was just spinning. I probably talked to my best friend and my mom like 2 other times that day. Every time I talked to them, I was crying. I talked to my grandma. She was like, we're gonna get you out there, we're gonna figure it out. I went back in my cell that night. I think it was probably like 12 something in the morning. The detective came and knocked on my door. It was like, we're gonna get you out of here, we're gonna let you go home. I'm thinking they're letting me go home, like back to America home. No, this was just the beginning of everything. Literally just the beginning. So they processed my paper. They tell my dad they're gonna let me go home. I'm crying because now I'm like, I gotta leave my dad in this situation. I don't know like what they're gonna do to him, because I was kind of an advantage to him, because obviously they're not gonna do anything with your child in front of you. Like, they're not gonna do that. So me leaving, like, this is in my head. I'm like, I can't leave my dad here. Like, what if they do something to him? What if they tell him something? What if they try to like turn us against each other? Like, I don't know what's going on. But he was like, it's gonna be okay, like just go. I'm just like, fuck, like I don't want to be, like why are we even here? Like, why can't we both just go home? So they end up processing my paperwork, yo. I didn't get out of there until like 5 o'clock the next morning, because it took so long for them to process my paperwork. And when I got my paperwork, I'm thinking I'm going home, like this is over. No, I got my paperwork and it said you have to check back in on March 1st. Mind y'all, it's January 13th. or January 14th, and it said I had to check back in March 1st. I started crying again. Like, I broke down. I was like, I'm supposed to stay here till March. Like, how, like, school, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how is this my life? Like, what is going on right now? My cousin, not my, another family, another side of the family that we knew down there, she picked me up from the police department. By the time she picked me up, I was just crying. Like, I just couldn't stop crying. Like, I was on the phone with my grandma, I'm just in tears crying. And then my stepmom was like, why did y'all get out? Like, y'all was supposed to have a court date on Monday, and it was supposed to be okay. Like, everything was gonna be fine. And I'm like, no, like, that wasn't even an option. Like, they didn't say nothing about no court date or none of that. So now she's like, well, what are they doing from here? Like, why didn't they just give y'all a court date? So then that night, that first night, like, I just kept like trying to call back to the jail to talk to my dad, to like check on him. And like, the officer that was on duty, she was not having it. Like, she kept hanging up on me every time I called, and I was literally couldn't sleep that whole night. Like, I was on the phone with my best friend, and I just couldn't sleep at all. Then I ended up falling asleep. I slept that whole day, and then they let my dad come home the next night. So he came home Sunday night going into Monday, and when he got his paperwork, it said April 4th. So I'm like shut down. Like, I'm mentally like not okay. Like, I just fell into depression like immediately, because I'm like, I had plans. Like, everybody that knows me knows I can't sit still, and for me to not have my passport or my phone and just like having no choice but to sit still, it was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how, like, what is my life right now? Like, I just felt like my life was ripped away from me. Like, I'm in my head, like, spending my last months as a teenager stuck on an island. Like, what is going on right now? Then they gave me my iPad back and my laptop so that I could finish school, which kind of helped, because that was like our main form of communication with our family at that point, because they didn't give my dad back like anything. And I gave my Apple Watch back, which really didn't matter. But me and my dad are both at my cousin's house. Mind you, it's 3 of them. It's my cousin, her parents, and a 2-bedroom apartment. So when we got there, we took over my cousin's bedroom. My cousin slept with her mom, and then her dad slept on a couch. And that was our setup. And for the first couple days, we literally were just in the room. We didn't talk to nobody. We were barely eating. Like, I was like following behind my dad, because I was like expecting him to, like, you know, lead like a father, and I realized that he wasn't mentally okay either. I was just stuck. Like, I was going to drop out of school. Like, I was ready to just like take a semester off and withdraw. Luckily, we figured out, we talked to the dean's office, so I was able to switch to online classes. So that's what I did. I had to catch up though, because it took a while. It took like a week for it to transfer, so I was like almost a week and a half behind on schoolwork, so I had to play catch up. We were there for like 2 weeks before we went outside. My dad was like trying to figure out, like, he was doing all the research, and I was like shutting down. Like, he was doing all the research, he was looking up cases, he was trying to figure out like how this could happen, how often it happens. He started finding out that we weren't the only ones on the island. It happens to a lot of people. Lawyers was telling us like we couldn't do anything because we weren't charged with anything. Like, we were just supposed to sit and wait, and that's exactly what we did. After a while, he was still researching, but we was just like, I'm gonna go home March 1st and it's gonna be over. So that whole time, first 2 weeks we didn't go outside. Then we started like taking walks around the island, you know, talking, trying to like journal, write everything down so that we had documentation. I was journaling every day. We found an Airbnb to move into, which was right next door to the house that we was in. The Airbnb was $5,000 a month. We had a $250 weekly budget at the market, y'all. Mind y'all, Bermuda is a very expensive country, so it's not like we was in a cheaper country. No, Bermuda is a very expensive country. Like, $250 didn't really get us much. Like, it got us just enough to get by for the week. So we were on a very strict budget. I wasn't making any money. My dad was making like his passive income, but he wasn't making any like steady income. Once we got the Airbnb, we got a gym membership because we was like, okay, we need to do something. At this point, it was a month left. Like, it was February, and we thought that I had a month left. So we just got the gym membership for the month. We were going to the gym. Then, like, within the 3rd week, my dad stopped going to the gym because he was like, he go to the gym, he come in the house, eat too much food, we're on a budget already, so he can't really do that. It wasn't ideal. We began looking for lawyers. We met with this one lawyer who was supposed to be like a top lawyer, and he said that like it happens all the time. He told us that it was like still people stuck on the island, but it was like more amounts of money. Like it was never, like he never seen anything with such a small amount of money. He originally, the lawyer that we was meeting with was like, he's all about results, you know. He was talking like making it sound good, and he was like he's gonna write a letter to the police department. He said he wasn't going to charge us for the letter because he didn't want to charge us and then the letter not work. Right. He said that he thought everything was okay, like we were seeing the brighter side of things. So he asked for a character letter. We ended up sending him a character letter. In that character letter, it had both of our occupations, all of our jobs, what we do, how I was raised, you know, all of that. He sends an email to my dad that was supposed to go to his assistant, and it said, I need $5,000. They have money. $5,000 to write a letter. $5,000 to write a letter that wasn't even guaranteed to do anything. So my dad just didn't respond. We just didn't go with that lawyer, but now we were back at square one. And when we got back to square one at this point, my dad was just like, well, we're almost close to March 1st, so let's just see what happens with you in terms of you getting out of here, you know, and like if they're actually going to release me. But he's still doing a bunch of research, so he's still finding stuff out. March 1st comes, and in my heart, I had zero faith I was going home. I don't know, in my heart, I knew I wasn't going home. Everybody was telling me they had faith. I kept asking God, like, what was the purpose? Like, why did he put me in this predicament? Why was I here? What did I do to deserve this? I was asking him if this was my karma. Like, I'm just, like, really going through it. Like, zero faith that he was going to get me through it. Then, March 1st comes. I walk in the room. The same room where they did our paperwork to arrest us originally. He asked for my name. He pulls my name up on the screen. It says, read bail till June 4th. Yo, it's June 1st, meaning I'm still supposed to be on that island technically. I'm not supposed to be home yet. So when he said that, my heart crashed all over again. I was like, I'm gonna be turning 20 on an island. Like, my life is over. I just lost 6 months of my life. Like, I'm literally just like going through it. I go back out to my dad. No, before I go back out to my dad, they asking me to like sign papers and stuff. I'm thinking they about to rearrest me. I'm like, hold on, like what? They like, no, we just gotta rebail you. Then I'm crying. I get my paperwork. The officer, first they was trying to extend it longer because the officer that was redoing my paperwork called up to the detective, the girl that was on the case. Called it and was like, are you sure you only want to extend it 3 months? Like, cases like this, you should take longer. And I guess whoever was on the other side was like, no, just do it till June. So they just did it till June. Then I get my paperwork, and the guy that's redoing my paperwork is like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I would rather you tell me that I was going home. So then I guess it was like the supervisor on the shift, and she was like, are you not from here? I was like, no, I'm from America. And then she started talking about like going to court and going the court system and getting them to let me go home. Mind y'all, while all this is going on, my cousin signed a $10,000 surety bond in order for me to get out of jail originally. It's going to be important to know what I'm about to tell you. March 1st was basically like day one all over again. It was us starting over. There was no more just sit and wait. It was take action. So my dad had contacted this one lawyer who he contacted before, but she had COVID when he contacted her to begin with. Contacted her, told her what was going on. Luckily, she was a friend of our family down there. So we met with her. She told us to go file for legal aid, which is basically like financial aid, but for the court system. She told us to go file for legal aid. That was a long process, but their main focus was getting me home first because they didn't want to do it together and it'd be too much mix up. So they were just focusing on me. Keep this in mind. They were just focusing on me. go file for legal aid. That took a week and a half to file for it because the paperwork was wrong. We had to add to the paperwork. They wanted to know who my mom was. They wanted to know how much my mom made. They wanted to know where I was staying, where I was living, where I went to school, what campus, how much my tuition was, my tuition bill, all of that. Like, we had to get all of that paperwork together and submit it. Then it finally got approved. Then we had to write another character letter, a more detailed character letter. What I was doing the last 19 years of my life, where I worked, how much I made, how, like, the proof that I wasn't a criminal. So we had to put everything that I did down. And y'all know I do a lot. So it took time. And then we had to write, like, what I was missing while being down there. So, like, school events, fundraisers, internships, stuff like that we had to write so that it would be like, let her go home because she's missing this while y'all investigate. So we did that. Then I had to swear on a Bible that everything in my character letter was real and nothing was a lie. And my character letter, like, you only swear when you testifying. I had to swear on a Bible for my character letter. On the Bible for my character letter. She went to go put it into the court. Whoever did the paperwork ended up doing the paperwork wrong. So instead of it being 2 days until my court date, it ended up being like a week and 2 days until my court date. Then my court date came. We didn't know that I had to be at the court date. When the court date happened, the lawyer was there and the people from the police department, the representative was there. The judge was like a judge that our lawyer was familiar with because of a similar case, and basically it was 2 girls down there with her dad that my lawyer was dealing with, and the lawyer was able to get the 2 girls home through that judge. So what we were going to court for was not to drop the investigation. It was just to allow me to go home until the investigation was over. Right. So the judge was like talking to the police station. He was like, so where's the case at? Like, what are you guys doing with it? And they told the judge that they didn't go through my phone yet. They told them they didn't even go through my phone yet. So the judge was like, you had her phone for 3 months and she gave you the password and y'all didn't go through her phone yet? So it would look bad on their part. So the judge was like, okay, y'all have 2 weeks to go through her phone and report something back. So those 2 weeks, I was going through it. I was praying. I was fasting. I was reading my Bible. I was, I just like really surrendered the situation to God, because I was like, I got us this far. Like, we did the work to get us this far. The problem is not in our hands anymore. My dad was trying to figure out other ways if he could pay to get us off the island. He was trying to figure out other ways to get us home. I'm just like really, and this is where me and him like really separated, because I was like really like put my trust in God, put my faith in God at this point. Just like, he's gonna get us out. And my dad's like, we can't rely on God. Like, we gotta do it ourselves. So we was on 2 separate sides of the spectrum, literally. And I should have mentioned this before, but this was the longest that I've ever been with my dad, because I didn't live with my dad growing up. Most I've been with my dad was a month maybe, and it would be other people around. So this was like really just me and my dad, and it wasn't like this ever. So we was bumping heads, we was clashing, we was arguing, we was fighting, we wasn't talking. We was going through it. Like, we was really going through it. So we was on different sides of the spectrum. I put my faith in God, I'm praying to God. At this point, we had been going to church for a minute. Like, we started going to church while we was down there. Every sermon every week somehow related to our situation, whether it was put your trust in God, surrender the problem to him, keep going, you're gonna get through it. Every sermon was related to our situation, which definitely helped me lean closer on God. But yeah, we was bumping heads, and I'm just like, I really hope like that this court date allows me to go home, because I can't we just bumping heads, like the bump heads at this point. I started recording and documenting everything, like document every day. I was like, I'm gonna write a book. I tried to write a book. I started crying while I was writing a book. I was like, okay, we can't do this right now. We have to wait till we're out of the situation to write the book. The week before the court date, the lawyer called my dad and was like, remember, you guys have to be there. And then she was like, be prepared to have $5,000 to post up as a bond, so that if she doesn't come back to the island, they have the $5,000. Mind you, at this point, there's a $10,000 bond on my head, plus the money that they took from us at the airport. So my dad's like, do I give her the money? Like, do I keep the money? Like, he's going through it. And I'm just like, well, what other option do we have? So then I called my stepmom, and my stepmom was like, y'all need to tell her that y'all don't have no money. Like, y'all financially not making no money because y'all are down here. So I call her back myself. I call her back, and my dad ended up talking to her, whatever. But I called her. My dad wasn't gonna call her. My dad was shut down. He had a whole attitude. My dad was like, we don't have the money. You know, my stepmom had been diagnosed with breast cancer while we was out there, and then my great grandma was hospitalized and her heart stopped pulsating for 10 minutes while we was down there. So it was just like so much going on, and he was like, we financially cannot afford to give y'all any more money because y'all have a good chunk of our money. That's the money that we was spending to live down there. Like, come on now. So man, then the lawyer called back and was like, I talked to the police station. If both of you guys forfeit the money, they're gonna let both of you guys go home on the court day. Yo, I flipped out. I think I recorded me flipping out. I flipped out. I started crying. I was like, that's not nothing but God. Like, it was in my soul. Like, I knew that that wasn't nobody but God, because who else was gonna pull strings like that? Who else was gonna let that happen? Nobody. Like, that was literally a miracle. Like, when I say a miracle, my dad checked in April 4th and his date got extended till July like 16th or something like that. Like, that wasn't nothing but God. So I started packing my stuff. I packed my stuff up real quick. Best believe I packed my suitcases real quick. We went to court the next day. It took like 5 minutes. We signed the paper. Y'all can have the money. Keep the money. And that was that. And we went home. And that whole day, like, our family knew we had a court date, but we wasn't talking to them at all. Like, they was trying to, like, first of all, when we was down there, if we was out of the house, we couldn't talk to them because obviously my iPad has to be connected to Wi-Fi to work. So we couldn't talk to them when we was out of the house. So we didn't hear it. Like, we just wasn't texting them, but it was planned. I was like, let's not say nothing, because if it don't happen, I don't want them to like be excited or get their hopes up that we coming home and then we don't come home. So we waited all the way until we got to my grandma's doorstep, rung the doorbell, and popped up on them. And I'll put that video in too, but we popped up on them. And then my mom didn't know, my best friend didn't know, nobody knew. And I started calling people, telling them I was home. And it was just like, dang, like, we're really home. Like, it was crazy, because it's like, now it's June 1st. It's like, when I be thinking that I've been home this long, I've been home since April 23rd. We was stuck for 102 days. When I be thinking like I've been home this long, it be in my head like I could have really been stuck on that island. Like, my life could have been so different. And I'm just like blessed, because it was a learning experience for me. Yes, it was very, very mentally damaging, mentally harming being in a situation, but like, you look at me now and you would never know I went through that a month ago. You would have never knew that was my life a month ago. And like, it taught me so much about life. It taught me so many life lessons. Like, life is too short. Like, it just made me like want to be positive all the time, because why waste my time being in a negative mindset? Not to hold grudges, you know, forgive people, because life is really too short. Definitely grew me closer to God. My relationship with God strengthened so much, and I'm still working to strengthen it every day. Yeah, my whole perspective on life just changed, because it's like, you can't ever say it won't happen to you. Like, never say it won't happen to you, because God will humble you real quick. And I don't feel like God put us in that situation. I honestly feel like the devil put us in that situation. Like, that situation came from the enemy, but God was able to flip it and find purpose in the situation. Like, I'm literally like a completely different person. Like, my mood is different, my energy is different, my mind is different. I finished school with a 3.7 GPA, which is crazy. Like, crazy, based off of what happened during last semester. And I've been playing this Storytime off for so long, because I really just didn't want to like talk about it. Like, if I'm talking about it, it's like briefly, it's like, okay, I could talk about this, I could share my story, but to go in detail and like relive the emotions that I was feeling is like so insane to me, because it's like, wow, like, definitely made me realize I'm way stronger than I thought I was, mentally, physically, all of that. Was a life lesson. Will not take anything for granted. I don't take anything lightly. I use my time accordingly. I'm blessed that as soon as I got back home, I hit the ground running again. Like, I never left. The way my life picked up was just insane. That was my life. That was the beginning of my 2024. I never would have thought that the beginning of my year would have been like that. Like, that was my first quarter. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions or comments, concerns, make sure y'all put them down below. Pretty sure I'm gonna have to do a part 2 to answer questions. I need y'all to blow this video up. Like, literally blow this story time up for me. I don't care how many times y'all watch it. Blow this video up. I need this video everywhere. Like, the way I'm moving, I need this video everywhere, because this is unreal. Like, it's literally, my life is a movie. Like, I've been saying my life was a movie for years. My life is literally a movie. Like, what happens to me, it only happens in movies. I don't know. I just can't think nobody but God, for real. Like, literally, I wouldn't have been able to get through that with God. Like, not having my mom, that's the longest time I was away from any of my siblings. The longest I was away from my mom. The longest I was away from my family. I was literally supposed to be going to spend a weekend with my best friend. Ended up in jail. First time getting locked up was in another country for something I did not do. And to think, like, once they be like, that's not your life, that's just a chapter of your story. That's really just a chapter of my story. And, like, it was one point where I really thought that was my life. Like, I thought that my life was over. I thought that I wasn't going to get out of there. I thought that I was going to be there forever. I thought I wasn't going to see my family again. I thought that school was done for me. I thought that my businesses was done for me. And the way that my life has elevated since I've been home is so crazy. It's so crazy to see where I am today versus where I was at a month ago. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it took me so long to post this, but it's up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the post notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and follow my socials. And I'll see you on my next video. Bye.
That makes me look at you too often. Baby, you can give it something.